feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go. Swear I won't forget this, why do I regret this? In my mind reckless, thoughts are feeling endless. Sitting up I'm breathless, anxiety's infectious. I feel so defenseless, betrayed and embarrassed. I hate being open, I hate being broken. I feel like an ocean filled up with emotion. Anger ain't a potion, rub it on like lotion. I can feel it soaking, reopen, the scars have awoken. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go. I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. Cause I can't move on till I let go. The pain makes it real, I don't wanna feel, I just wanna kill the bad thoughts and steal a good thought and feel. I'm just lost, I feel, I'm just lost, I feel. I need time to heal, I can't steer the wheel. Cause this drive it kills, and it gives me chills. A nice road it feels, I slip off the field and crash all the steel. Will I ever heal?
What's up? Turn that down a little bit. What up, Bayouche? Howdy, howdy. Let's see. Beautiful. Get that all. Make sure we're all good set up there. Turn this down a little bit more so I can hear myself think. Oh, you hate everything. Why do you hate everything? What's going on? Hang out with the man, the myth, the legend, Coach Antor on Twitch. Let's go. Let's go. That's me. Have you looked at Twitter recently? Yeah, which part? Which part's got you feeling cray-cray? Been a minute since I had time to pop into stream. Yeah, just ended, so it's perfect timing. Nice. How was practice today? Yeah, all the streamer drama. Holy crap. All of it. I mean, every new thing makes me just nauseous. It's disgusting. Just popping in to say hi quick. Say I always enjoy the show. Can't enjoy it live because it's Prime Dad Lifetime. Hey, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it, Tyler. Have fun doing Prime Dad Lifetime stuff. Practice was a bit crazy, you know, high school age kids. Yeah. Noah, thank you for the sub, the Twitch Prime sub. I appreciate it. I'm going to eat this cheese stick because I forgot I had it. I was going to eat it before I went live, but this is dinner. This is dinner right now. 2 months in a row, Noah. Warhood, the thing I hate the most is the fact that Juice Kiffin wasn't allowed to fly to Georgia Tech. I don't even know who that is. I don't even know, dude. ASMR stream? Wrong category? Sorry. My bad. I'll mute my mic as I eat this beautiful cheese stick. I'm reading about this Juice Kiffin thing. It's a dog. Become the new face of Rebels football. What is going on? Dude, that's way... I don't do traditional sports stuff. You know, fantasy football is like the furthest I'll go into the lore of of traditional sports. I don't have time for anything more. I have come for the spicy takes. Is this where the spicy takes... This is exactly where the spicy takes are. Or the big brain takes that you won't see on Twitter. That's kind of where I hope to land. It's let's have big brain takes that aren't very successful on Twitter because people don't like big brain takes. Spicy cheese sticks instead. The lore. Prestige Yeeskin. Ooh, I like it. That's a cool emote there. That's dope. We got some good topics to cover today. I think someone posted in my Discord. Who was it? That's like, Antor's gonna have a lot to talk about this week. Generic. I think Coach Antor has his work cut out for him this week. I would agree with that. I got a match. Our Rocket League team's playing Aquinas College at 7. I'm not sure if you're aware of that school. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. And then our league team plays at 8 against Florida Atlantic. Oh my gosh, political text season. I get all the... Aquinas? Yeah, Aquinas. I'm allowing that. They kind of trash, I heard. I've heard that too. I heard the... I mean, a lot of that just has to do with the trash director who started that program, you know. But then League of Legends plays Florida Atlantic at 8. It'll be the last group match for Battle for Florida, which is a big tournament with all the Florida schools. Last of the group stage. Excited for that one. Should be a good one. The fact that comment got auto-mounted just shows the bias the stream has against me. Last week I got banned. This week I got auto-modded. That is true. Yeah. We're just creating some lore for the Antor stream. So the trivia question is, who has been banned the most in Antor's chat? The answer is Warhood. So write it down. That might earn you some money someday. You're so excited for BFF playoffs? Me too. Our team is looking good. I am so excited. Duckco, what up? Hey, what's up, Duck? Howdy, howdy. You ready for practice? Our team is looking good. All of our team's pretty confident. We'll see. I'm 100% expecting FSC in finals. That's the goal. I mean, the goal is to win it all. I'll just put that out there. Our team's looking good. They'll be playing in UAL this fall, Unified Advanced League. A couple good names. We're in the same conference as the University of Michigan, so excited for that. Is getting banned a contest now? No, it is not. No, please no. I don't have mods. I am the mod of this channel, so you'd just be making my work more. Should we get started with some of this stuff? U of M, yeah, U of M is in our conference. It's it's 4 team conferences in UAL, and we're in the one with Michigan. Probably a small bad school, probably. I know I've beaten them. The only reason I know of who they are is because we've beaten them in the past. So we'll see. U of M, yeah. Which one? So many U of M's out there, you know. Can't let one school take that one. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Same with Michigan State. I mean, those big schools, like, never heard of them till we rocked their worlds. Taught them how to pronounce Aquinas, you know. I'll mod for you. Just timing nerds out left and right. Right, right. Imagine being a Spartan fan. True. True. You know what's worse than a Spartan fan? A Buckeye fan. I just can't even fathom why someone would do such a thing. And I hope K-Bot's in this chat. Coach Bilski. Yeah, unbelievable. Oh my goodness, so much going on. All right, let's hop into some of this stuff. I'll turn off the music because it's time. It's time to get down to business. All right, time for business. Business time. Spartan fan, Buckeye fan. What Harry Potter names are these? For their football team, American football, not football. You got to know your audience, Kyber. You know, yeah. So let's start talking about some collegiate stuff. Hopefully my mic sounds all right. My Blue Yeti has now become the caster mic until my headsets come in at school. So it is what it is. The Queen is dead. It's called soccer now, not football. Oh, dang. Okay. Not commenting on that one. First piece of news that I want to talk about is a Play Versus development that happened a couple days ago. If you remember correctly, back in March, Play Versus was being sued by an employee who accused them of discrimination, revolved around her pregnancy and being fired. They actually just announced that the Play Versus reached a settlement with that employee. We don't know any information. We don't know if money was exchanged, what happened, but they basically settled out of court. So hopefully, for Play Versus perspective, hopefully this is the end of that chapter, and hopefully nothing else pops up. But we'll see. Jacob Wolf with that story. If you don't follow him, he's awesome. He's a great esports and gaming reporter. Yeah, his cat Macchiato. Yeah, I followed that. He found like a cat in a parking lot and like made a whole like Twitter thread over COVID about it. It was really cool. Like updates and stuff. It was awesome. I've met him. He's cool. Yeah, so that's Play Versus. Just wanted to touch on that. Also wanted to give a congratulations to Riley Long from Aquinas College, who announced that he is departing for another opportunity to lead another program in Collegiate. Wanted to say congratulations to him. And if anyone's interested in that job, I think he's asking people to DM him or look out for the listing that'll come out soon. Let's hope Play Versus caught the raw end. Yeah, I mean, well, Play Versus has money to give, so 07 for Riley for sure. He's done a good job. Had to fill some small shoes, in my opinion. They could only go up from where I took them, so yeah, good for him. Excited to see where he's going. He will be deeply missed for AQ for sure. Yeah, absolutely. He was awesome. Aquinas was very lucky to get him. But yeah. Next thing on my list is CVEL registration. Where is, yeah, Huntley. Okay. Just wanted to call some tweets to mind here. First one came from Huntley FPS, who is the head coach for Akron's esports team. Basically, the East region filled up, completely filled. They had 128 spots. That got filled. They are allowing schools to have multiple teams, and that's the problem in my from what it looks like. Couple lot of chatter on Twitter around that. Riot then came out with a response, basically said, we did not think we would sell or fill up. We didn't plan for this. Whoops. But they will be sharing an update to accommodate more teams across all regions. For now, please continue to register and stay tuned for the CVAL Discord for more information. The latest on the CVAL Discord is this exact announcement. There has not been any development since then. That announcement came out 4 days ago. So, interested to see how that kind of lays out. I believe teams were allowed to pick their conferences, or they got to pick their region, and yeah, they filled up the East. I don't know if they filled up other regions at this point, but yeah, expecting there only to be 128 Valorant teams when teams can register multiple, I think was their mistake there. Just looking at yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think NECC said they had like 300 Valorant teams so far, or like that registered, which is crazy. So that's that. 310. 310. I think instead of being in my chat, Miss SGK Carol, you should be sleeping. Because I think I recall seeing a tweet this morning that said you went to bed when the sun came up, which is not healthy. We're almost at 300, I think. I think the last I saw for Nace was we were at 200. But that might be inaccurate or outdated. No, but seriously, I'm glad you're here. SGK Carol. Jokes on you. Jokes on you. I woke up like 2 hours ago. Oh, yeah? Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here. Wait. Daily increase. Registered teams. 1, 2. Okay, we have 395, it looks like, in days. I lied. I think we're almost at 400. If I'm calculating this correctly. Actually, I can even calculate this right now. Let's move this over here so you don't see my work. I don't know if that is a 5 or a 6. Yeah, so we're almost at 400. Yeah, that's crazy. It's a lot of Valorant teams. And yeah, they didn't expect to fill up. So we're waiting on RSAA to say what they're going to say. We'll see. But yeah, that kind of made some rounds. Speaking about no, Nace LOL this year was Sag. Glad the rest of the offerings are doing well. Yeah, Nace LOL is still a huge pain in the butt of everyone. It stinks. Riot just hasn't made a decision and continues to, I don't know. All right. Well, speaking of making its rounds on Twitter, I think one of the hottest things that happened, not spicy, it's just like hottest, it got pretty crazy, was in-game coaching announced in NACE. This was only in, caveat, this was only in the Varsity Plus divisions. So there's no prize pools. There's no larger things to get. This division is for NACE members only, and basically your top team usually goes to Varsity Premier. That's where the prize pool is for Varsity. The Varsity Plus divisions is seen as more of a development league or JV league, or even if you're a newer program that doesn't want to play in Varsity Premier, you can play in Varsity Plus. And it was announced like a week ago that they would allow in-game coaching in that Varsity Plus division. This crazy. Some of the responses on this, I think generally in my experience, it's generally positive. This is only affecting league titles, so like Hearthstone's not affected, League of Legends is not affected because they don't have a league this fall. Chess is not affected, NASCAR, Fortnite, Dota are not affected. Um, but generally, it seemed pretty positive. But um, there definitely was some vocal people who were against this idea. Um, I think everybody kind of had their take. There's some back and forth on Twitter. I think it's, in my experience from where I've been coaching, directing, and talking with other schools and knowing where they're at, it seems like the higher end coaches, from a competitive standpoint, are against this idea. The lower end coaches, the more development focused coaches, are the ones not fighting for national championship, are very much for this. Um, and I think that's very telling. I I think it's really important for us to put a lens on some directors' opinions, and just look at it from their perspective, and then realize, like, okay, their perspective is based on their experiences in X, Y, and Z, and where they're currently at. Um, what do we look like from someone else's perspective? And I think that's really important. Um, Mega says, my take on in-game coaching, if it is both very stressful, it is both very stressful on players and also seen as inefficient. In my opinion, it's only really a discussion because Riot allows it for CLOL, but they only allow it because it's hard to track at scale. Good POV. I've never used it, so I do come from a different background. I like the change. We tried it a couple years ago with our LoL teams. I personally believe, as a former, this is a good thing for those who will use it for different ways. Mega says we stopped it after like 2 weeks because it created a lot of friction between the coaches and players and created stress. Um, yeah, and this is one of those things that, like, coaches are going to have to navigate what's best for them, and there's going to be instances where a team is just better than another team because they don't have someone in their ear constantly. And maybe, I mean, there's going to be good coaches, there's going to be bad coaches, like there currently already are. We're just going to be amplifying that with some teams. Um, if a coach is a gold player and in the ear of their diamond Rocket League team saying stupid stuff, that's just going to be bad for the team in general. But that's not for the league to decide. That's for the coach to fail at, or the players to push back on, and to experiment and work on that. It's fascinating to me that um, that some of these takes are based on some experience that one team had, or just like the thought process of everyone should have a Diamond Plus roster who doesn't need coaching, and that's just not the case. It's just not the case. Um, we had some similar things in the past we've talked about, but I can't think of those. But it it's just a lot of this, when we talk about it within the NACE Competition Council, a lot of it's on in this perspective of Varsity Plus is a developmental league, and there's a ton of teams in there that have like gold or below teams in these game titles. Like there's teams with like gold Rocket League players, and that's okay. And being able to allow them to have as many tools as they want as coaches to develop those players, I think, is the better outcome. Um, as long as it's not a competitive integrity issue. And that's why some of these game titles, even if they went league, we wouldn't allow in-game coaching. Like if Hearthstone ever went into a league format, we would never allow in-game coaching because it's a competitive integrity issue. Um, and yeah, I it, yeah, I don't know. It was just very interesting to me because the very vocal oppositions tended to skew on the more hyper competitive side of things. And for us and members of NACE, the hyper competitive division is Varsity Premier, where in-game coaching isn't allowed. So, yeah, it was very interesting to me, that people wanted to pull the context out of it and just talk about in-game coaching. Like, okay, you can talk about it all you want. I'm not personally sold on the idea of in-game coaching outside of a development league. Excuse me. Like in Varsity Premier, there are some coaches that want in-game coaching in Varsity Premier. I am not sold on that at this point. The only person I really saw as super anti was Clerky. I think he was the most vocal about it. Um, but again, I think the context of it and the lens to look while looking at it is important in this case. Um, Mega says players need to think for themselves and be capable of making their own decisions. Is the same reason why VOD review coaching is more helpful than live coaching. I don't agree with that. I think VOD review coaching, like, sure, it's nice and everyone does it, but like, how many times does a player actually like take everything you've taught them and apply it perfectly? Like, how many times do you do a VOD review every week and it's the same issue over and over again? And instead, what you can do as a coach is insert yourself into some of those scrim situations or match situations that we're talking about NACE's varsity open division and insert those reminders of what you should be working on, which can be way more effective from a coaching perspective. And I see it as similar to a coach on a traditional sports team yelling from the sidelines. Yes, you can have a super annoying coach who's micromanaging the game, and that's not going to be beneficial for the team either. But you can have specific interjections that help the team get to where they need to be. Pico says, I was challenger and coach PG UPL this summer, and I think that I even struggle to talk during the game and give efficient and beneficial feedback. I also feel it takes away from the students developing their own critical thinking and how they want to solve it in the moment. And if they make a mistake, then I correct it. Then I can correct and help after the game ends because I can explain very in-depth issues. That's fair. And if you as a coach don't want to in-game coach, then don't in-game coach. Like, no one's forcing you to in-game coach either. I think again everyone continues to make inferences based on their personal experience without looking at the entire landscape and other people's experiences. Mr. Danner says, so when are we kicking coaches off of the benches for football teams or other traditional sports? Yes. And there's arguments to be made that they're not the same. I totally get that too. Like, you don't have a headset in every player's ear in some of those traditional sports where they're constantly talking. Like, I agree with you. I don't think that would be an effective way of coaching. But there are ways to be an effective coach. And when I've seen it in scrim settings, it's not like the coach is constantly talking. It's like small reminders, or it's like someone makes a mistake, they already look tilted. It's a mental reset. It's like, all right, Joe Schmo, take a breather. You got this. And that's all. Like, why is that not allowed in esports? It's crazy. Games like RL and CS Val are different. Yeah, every game title is going to be different. I agree with that. But again, it's from my perspective, it's a competitive integrity problem if we're going to say no. Traditional sports are not esports, and to make that comparison is very disingenuous. Why? Where did I see? What topics have been covered so far? CVAL and we're talking on in-game coaching now. I also hate people who either side say traditional sports do this, so we should do this, or traditional sports do this, so why do we have to do that? Like, why do we have to do everything traditional sport? We don't. But there are instances, traditional sports have been developing coaches for 100 years and developing players for that long. Like, there are things you can learn from traditional sports. Like, why can't people be okay with that? To say, like, oh, traditional sports, we can't do anything traditional sports does is dumb. I just put that out there too. Saints Gaming Sean, that literally does happen. College football QBs have earpieces in. Yes, I don't know how often that happens, or like if they have to be turned off at separate times. I don't know, but I do know of that. I think people might also be treating this because they assume everyone coaches the same way. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I'll tell you right now, I think most coaches, if not all in esports, are terrible coaches. Like, we are just bad. I've said it. Like, no one's developing talent, and I'd still believe it. And part of that is in my own insecurity of being a terrible actual coach. So I just haven't seen the talent development that we could be doing. And I think in-game coaching could allow for some of that to happen. I have coached high-level esports and traditional sports is not nearly the same. Okay, not nearly is an exaggeration. Look, we are esports, no rules. Let the coaches coach at every level. I think it's a unique idea. I like Valorant having the timeout rule. Yeah, I like the timeouts. Like if there's a game that has built-in timeouts, like that, I think that is the ideal scenario, in my opinion. Like for Val, for CS:GO, like you have dedicated timeouts. That is awesome. I'm all about that. But there are games that just don't have that built in. Um, I do. They're automatically cut off at like 15 or 20 seconds before the game clock. Nice. Um, Wow. All right. They are automatically cut off 15 to 20 seconds. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can clip my takes on this, but I think it's great for a development league. I think this is an awesome opportunity to try something new, to allow coaches to actually coach, and insert themselves into some of these scenarios. I'm I'm gonna I'll die on that hill. When we start talking about the prize pool leagues and the top leagues, it's another conversation. I think that's where things are split a lot more, in my opinion. But this one I'm okay with at this point. Yeah, cool. All right, so we talked about that. The next topic, and I saw Sean in chat. CRL in St. Clair. This is the spiciest thing that's happened, I think, on the timeline. Um, and we'll talk a little bit about it because you saw it on your timelines. Comp, you can go read his twit longer, all that fun stuff. This is not the first Rocket League player from St. Clair to post a twit longer about their experience. Um, Again, you can go ahead and read it. The gist is, in my from reading both of these, the gist is a player thought they would start at some point under that impression. At some point, St. Clair lost some support and had to cut their second roster, leaving less spots. Um, this player still thought they would play, ended up being told very soon before the fall semester started that they would not be, and it got messy. um, I'm not going to ask anyone to do anything. Yeah, I totally get that. Um, I think what's been interesting, I think, has been reading the replies and then the response and then the messages I've gotten from other coaches. And what I'll say is that the current, I guess, consensus on social media with the replies is that St. Clair was in the wrong. And then every coach DM that I got was that the player was in the wrong. And they're like, am I the only one thinking this? um, I bring a different perspective to the table. I think there was missed opportunities on both sides of this, and I think this kind of situation probably happens a lot more frequently in collegiate than we think of or we know of. But this happened to be somebody who has social media following as well as, um, I guess, yeah, just has a following. Is talented player. And where I think they all ended up going to Keanu. They just announced Comp is now going to Keanu Keanu. I don't know. Aquinas. No, another Canadian school where Zeddy is now the head coach. Um, so good for him. Found a place. I think there was some interesting things in here that I'll have to talk to somebody privately about later. But the player mentioned an agreement that he had signed, but doesn't give any details about what this agreement is. I'll tell you right now, like our recruits don't sign any agreement. I think some schools will do like an ITC or like a letter of intent, where it says like here's your scholarship for you to play or be on the team. But there's never been an agreement that I've seen or heard of at a school that talks about like a starting spot, guaranteed play time, any of that stuff. The NACE ITC, similar thing, NACE ITC. It could be the ITC that he signed, but the ITC would not have laid out playtime or starting or anything besides like you're on the team, like or you're a player or you're even a student within the program. I don't even know if it spells out anything beyond that. It might it might list a game title, but those but nothing beyond that. Um, it sounds like this player was convinced that he was supposed to be playing and starting. That ended up not being the case. So he is pretty upset about it. There was some other things like people complaining to administration. Um, this player just completely believed that he was going to be playing. He deserved a spot. There was a lot being asked of him, um, which, I mean, some of this stuff is like, yeah, of course. Like, that's what being a collegiate competitor entails. But, but I think that the problem, the crux of the argument comes from he was under the impression that he would be starting, and then he found out very close to semester starting that he would not be. And I don't know. I've never had a recruit personally that I've told they had a starting spot. I've never said guaranteed any of that. I've never guaranteed playing time. And I think that's a really important thing for every coach who's dealing with recruitment to do or not do is not guaranteeing this play time, because you never know. The kid shows up and he has a bad attitude. You don't want him. The kid shows up, ends up not being as good as you thought he was or she was. Uh, and that needs to be explicitly um, spelled out or told to a player, especially at this magnitude. Like if you're a professional Rocket League player, like, and you're going to a college, my guess is you're expecting to start and play, and especially when we're talking about CRL, which is like the massive opportunity for all these pro players to earn money and get some clout, I guess. It's really important to spell out those things. Beyond that, I think there's a lot of accusations from the player, and we had similar accusations from another player from St. Clair as well. And I don't fully remember the contents of this, but I think it was pretty similar in nature. But there was just a lot of blanket accusations against St. Clair and some of the leadership that I don't know if it was just the emotions in the moment coming out or if there was actually evidence that could back up some of these claims. But from my perspective, when I'm seeing the realistic timeline or situation that happened, was that there was just some miscommunication, maybe overpromising, and some unfortunate things led to this situation. I don't know. Like I don't beyond that, like it's hard to draw any conclusions without knowing information. And I think it's really important when you see things on Twitter to take a step back and look at every situation in a neutral lens. There are probably some truths in here. There are probably some lies or exaggerations based on emotions. But even if you're the organization or the program that has one of these come out, if you will, I think it's important to also look at it from their perspective and also a perspective of someone just neutrally. Like, okay, what are they trying to say? What are they saying? Is some of this true? And how can we get better? Um, because I think that's ultimately the goal, is to continue getting better. And people don't like writing this much content if there's no if they're lying, or if there's something, like if it's all just exaggerated. Like there's got to be something in there. That's probably true. I think that the biggest issue after each semester, I try to let players know if we will be going in another direction as early as possible. It was just about the same from what I remember. Yeah, that's fair. Like if you're making a massive roster change and a player came to play Rocket League and they fully expect to be a starter the next fall, um, yeah, it's probably. I mean, if you know you're going to go a different direction, it's fine. But it's also like a matter of having like just the student should know that like their spot's not guaranteed. Um, and maybe I'm just better at that. I don't know. Um, Little B, does NACE any league have any steps in place if foul play is found, whether it's the student or director, such as suspensions towards player program or anything like that? I feel like these instances with social media, being the judge or jury or in jury is quite a sad world. But if students are being misled and are falsifying information, I don't think any of these leagues have encountered such a situation yet. I would say that if something egregious happened with a director or school, um, that conversation would happen, and NACE would explore the possibility of sanctioning said school up to like kicking them out. But I don't think that situation has happened or been brought to the attention of NACE leadership, at least at this point. Um, any conversations that have happened have been like a school acting against another school, not within the same program. Now, NACE ITCs allow, in my what I believe is if a student was misled, then transfer obligations or requirements are waived. But that's about as much as NACE does currently. Kyber says, I think this is one of the biggest growing pains of collegiate esports. So many times phases are misunderstood because they assume it's one way or the other. Yeah, I would say, yeah, both coaches and players have different perspectives of what collegiate esports is or should be, or even beyond that, like what a certain messaging or what certain messaging means. Um, and every program's so different, so you don't even know. Like it's just gonna be different program to program even. And St. Clair being so competitive, um, with so many top players, like I don't know, unless if they told you you had a spot, like I don't know how you can assume that you have a spot on that lineup, you know? Like, yeah, you're a talented player. You'd probably walk onto like almost any other team and be the all-star, but like when you're talking about these top programs, um, but it's also important to realize that like they probably have other games that have players who thought they were playing and end up being on that practice roster or sub. You look at like a Maryville who recruits in a full 10-person roster for League of Legends, and 5 of those players know they probably aren't playing when it comes to CLOL or like the championship of CLOL. But they don't leave or get angry because that's kind of the expectation. Um, so yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I had to do it this summer for a Val guy that he would not be starting unless something dramatic changed with our recruits, and he elected to stay and be a sub. But I also told him I would reach out to other programs to try and help find a good home to play if he was interested. Yeah, I think that's a very mature way of looking at it. I don't think it's necessarily your responsibility to help that player find other programs. I think it's nice to do that, or at least like, hey, if there's a program you're interested in looking at, like I'll get you connected. Um, but also it's not every coach's responsibility to do said thing. Um, so yeah, I think that's I think that's a very mature way of looking at it. If the and I'm sure that's how the traditional side works with the transfer portal as well. Um, Bymax says, while I agree with the neutrality take, it doesn't make sense for a program to have 3 players in the last year come out with very similar stories and situations, especially with the main issue on most of these cases being the management administration side of the program. I would agree with you there. I would agree. If it was just one player, yeah, you can kind of push some of it aside. But I've seen 2. If you're saying 3, maybe there's a third. I've only seen 2. Um, there's more issue there. But again, just looking at how they talk about some of these players talk about their situation and where they're at, um, you have a very different. You've got some pretty big egos, all right? I'll just put it out there. Like you've got some players who fully expect like they deserve to be the starters. And maybe whatever the communication was or how they were recruited in catered to that ego without being realistic on what the situation might end up being. St. Clair is a 2-year outside of nursing, I think, right? I believe St. Clair. Yes, St. Clair is a 2-year institution in Canada, to my knowledge. Yes, but college is different in Canada, so I'm not even going to try to wrap my brain around that. Um, but yeah, I would agree. I think having multiple players come out with those issues is probably telling of some problem happening. Excuse me. But again, I really do. I don't look to condone a program uh, completely based on a couple players. And this is only to the Rocket League team. So who knows if it was just one person oversees the Rocket League team and that person's the issue. I don't know. I get too many bench players from other schools asking to transfer. Yeah, I don't. I get I get the last 3 years, a lot of my transfers have been players who are the best player on their team of average or below average players, and they're sick of that. uh, but yeah, bench players. I mean, there's going to be players who don't want to be benched and or don't want to sit on the bench, and that should be communicated in the recruitment process. We shouldn't get a player that um, either a week before school starts decides to transfer or not go there, or halfway through the season or a couple weeks in is like, wait, I thought I was starting. This isn't what I signed up for. Like that, the communication within the recruiting process has to be better and has to lay out these expectations. I'm gonna need. Noah says I'm gonna need a YouTube doc on the UK Canada higher education system, bro. That get someone else. There's a player on STU like that. Somebody go save him. Legit a challenger player with gold players. It's so sad. Yeah. Yeah, but some of those players might have gone to that school for other reasons and just happen to be really good at League of Legends. So, yeah. So if that person is the issue, I think it's the responsibility of heads of the program to look into it and step in. I agree with you there too. I mean, you as the director are responsible for everything that goes on in your program. Um, yeah, I agree with you on that. Um, it's simple, Noah. We've got primary school, secondary school, A levels, colleges, and then university. What the, bro? You took the U.S. system and added like 4 levels. What's going on here? Or we just took away 4. I don't know. One of the Twitlongers said who was in charge of the RL team. I must have missed that somewhere. It might be in there. There's a lot. Um, but yeah, I mean, we could go through some of this stuff, but really, when I read these, like, I feel like a lot of people want to read these and be like, all right, where's the drama? Yeah, let's burn this, whoever this is, down. But looking at these and then reading through the, like, in between the lines of like, okay, how does this look like in my program? And then, or could look like in my program, and what do I do that avoids this? And that is, I think, where the growing opportunity is. And from my perspective, reading through this, it's the communication, it's the expectations. And I feel like I always am saying the phrase setting expectations, but truly, I mean, if a player knows what's happening or what's going to happen or what could happen, they're not going to be emotionally volcano erupting. Like, it's just humans in general, in my opinion, are fairly simple creatures. You know, they get angry when they're surprised by something, but yeah, if they know it's coming, then when I worked at Target, like it was impossible to get fired. Like you had to have 3 coaching talks, 1 warning talk that was like more formal, and then 3 more coaching talks before you could get fired. So you're about 7 conversations about the same topic before you could get fired. And like at that point, anyone who's getting fired is like, yeah, yeah, I deserve to be canned. Like there's no fighting that. Whereas like this person fully expects to be starting, and then a couple weeks before school starts, I don't even know if it was a couple weeks or how long. I think they said like 1 or 2 weeks. Um, Finds out that they're not starting, and the world, their world probably feels like it's crumbling because like CRL is the thing that they wanted to do. I think the other Twitlonger was talking about like how he was asked to be a coach instead. of a player, if I remember correctly. I don't know. I don't know. That's not just at Target. Yeah. Yeah. Uh huh. Um, Beyond that, I'm glad at least some of the players have found a new home. I don't remember when Canadian school starts, but I'm fairly certain it's pretty late. So like right now, this week or last week or something. I'm glad they could find a new place. Hopefully, will meet all their wildest dreams. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you on that. But again, like the other thing is like when you recruit or go after top tier talent, like that requires additional support and um, I don't know, attention. I don't know. I mean, there's other things that come with having players of that caliber. Like those players can go play anywhere they want. So they need to feel wanted and truly enjoy your school, or else they'll just go somewhere else. Oftentimes, those players have larger egos or higher expectations for your program. They might have come through the amateur scene and know what it feels like to be treated well from an amateur org or another org, or treated poorly. And that those expectations are going to be put on your program as well. Um, if you're recruiting gold players, they probably don't even, as long as they have a space to play, bro, they probably don't care as much. Um, but yeah, that's another thing. Like, I don't have amateur or pro players, so again, it's not one of those things that I totally experience as well. Little B Man says we have all his students with positive and negative experiences. It all just depends what the negative experience was, whether it was the school's student life, the other students, or just the staff involved. There's so many factors. Yeah, I mean, and that goes for every student ever. Like, there's going to be positives and negatives of your schooling experience. It could be a person, it could be a professor, it could be the amenities on campus. Like, there's going to be positives and negatives. Um, but all we can do as coaches is try to get better. But second of all, is like communicate up front. Like a student should know most of what is going to have, or most of the expectations before they sign on and decide on your school. I loved the line here. It's been on my screen for a little bit. All for $4,000 a year. I was like, bro, like he's saying that he pays $4,000 a year to go to St. Clair. I can make double, triple that working at full time. Um, uh, and I'm like, bro, you don't. Do you even know how much it costs to go to school in America? Like, bro, uh, yeah, that is actually a scholarship. That's a scholarship. Okay, I'm pretty sure like that's almost a full tuition scholarship in Canada. Uh, St. Clair College. Let's look at it. Um, Out of state tuition is 3,800 Canadian dollars. He's saying he's being paid $4,000 a year to go, while he can make more money working. Yeah. Okay. Well, either way, I mean, yeah, it was just interesting to me because it's all perspective, in my opinion. Uh, like the director being a Patriots fan, that would be ultimate negative. Or a Cowboys fan. I thought you had AM players this year, Adam. I think Nebula has maybe played some amateur, but none of my other players have played amateur, to my knowledge. They're just really freaking good. They're all. I got some GMs and challenger players. They just haven't played amateur. So all in all, just be transparent with incoming and current students and have a set game plan. Yeah, that's all we can do, and that's like the recommendation I can come up with out of these stories. Because you've got kids who are at in way worse programs, in my opinion, who freaking love it. Um, yeah, Prince runs Florida. Oh boy, it's Prince's birthday today, so if you know Prince, send him a happy birthday. 2K for some graduate level courses in the U.S. Yeah, 2K for one graduate course. Um, yeah, it just comes from an expectation standpoint. If this player knew way before it came up that this is the situation on the roster, no one spot is guaranteed. And even when they found out they had to drop their second team, it's like, all right, team meeting. This is how we're running this year. We're going to do a 5-man roster, which is weird in my opinion, but more power to you. Um, uh, but no one spot's guaranteed. You guys are all fighting for it. And you guys will know second week of the semester who's the starters, whatever it is. Like, this is what you can work on, or this is how we're going to determine this. Um, if you're not comfortable with that, good luck, or like we'll help you find a place to go. Um, Imagine the conversation and the Twilonger if that occurred. Very different, in my opinion. Hell on pause. My old public school tuition was $7K a year. Mine was $6K. Truman, $6K a year. Although I think in like the last 8 years, it's almost doubled. So I don't know. Have a good week. See you, Mega. Rotating 8-man roster, switch every goal. That's my dream setup. Oh no. I mean, even with the official meeting for the 5-man roster, they went out and recruited more players while they had 5 spots filled already. That might be the case, but like maybe. I don't know how that fully went down, but if you have a super talented player that's interested in coming, you make room. Sorry about it. Like that's collegiate athletics and esports. Like if a challenge, like if a pro league player was like, "Hey, I want to come to Florida Southern and I'll pay whatever I have to pay to go there." Like you find room. But you like those players, the players on your roster know like, "Hey, none of your spots are guaranteed." Like you have just as much of an opportunity to get that spot as this pro player. You just got to show that you're the better player. Like, and if you're not comfortable with that, then sorry. Like it's just the reality. You had to do that with SkyTech. I mean, that's just the reality. Like we have to be competitive. We're not going to if some player wants to come, we're not going to tell that player like, "Nah, we're good." Nah. Eh. Like, no, we all want to be competitive. That's just what collegiate. Yeah, you find room, but then you also work your ass off to give the ones left out of the experience possible on your second team. Yeah, you have a second team. You ask them to like, "Hey, we're gonna need you to be ready. You're still coming to practice. Like, you're sub. There's probably gonna be some rotation where you're gonna be playing a little bit. You can help being an analyst. Like, it's not like you just push that player aside and it's like, all right, bye. Sorry, you're cut. Like, you don't cut the player from the roster. Their role just changes. I mean, I don't know if I should feel bad about that, but that's just the reality of competitive sports. Like, we're talking about college level competition. I think you have a strong roster. Recruiting for future is never bad. Like, if next semester a kid wants to come in with pro experience, they will at the very least be getting a shot. Had to ask my support to coach. Yeah, and maybe that support's not comfortable with coaching and they decide to leave. Like, that's fine, but at least the communication has happened and the expectation is set. And that support doesn't think, "Oh, I'm starting," until game one or like a week before the semester and is like, "Oh, well, I can't find another place," you know? I always recruit more because you never know what can happen. Yeah, I've had players drop interest 2 weeks before school starts. So you also have to like recruit more than what you have. You never cut a player cuts themselves. That's a good thing there. I mean, but you also, I mean, it's not just a saying, and like, you also have to make sure that if, in my opinion, I think it's really important to truly find a spot for them to contribute, however they want to contribute. I've had players who find out they're a sub and just ask, "Hey, like, can I just take a back seat?" at this point. Like, I'll come to matches, but I don't. There's no point in me coming to game or practices, etc. And for certain players, like that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. Like, it's better for you to focus on academics than waste time. But that's not going to be every player. Like we have a priority sub on most of our rosters that will probably get playtime, and we need them to be like dialed in. So many things transfer, withdraw, ineligible. Like having a strong backup plan is not bad. It's a hard conversation, but you can't leave them hanging. Exactly. Exactly. Thoughts on player contracts with non-competes but guarantees scholarships? I I hate the idea of anything long term in esports. Like even like I'll have sophomores in high school reach out to me. I'm like, dude, I don't even want to have a long conversation with you until you're a junior or senior because the landscape changes so quickly all the time that like the idea of like player contracts, I don't know. Because then how does like a player get out of that contract? Like we're now monetizing or slash like like keeping kids stuck in an academic, like tying that to an academic thing is not what I think should happen. I'm against the idea of player contracts. Now, there's probably some type of agreement that can be worked out that could be seen as a player contract, but it would revolve around the benefits that are being given to a student or a player, a student athlete, um, the requirements to fulfill that said agreement, but then also like how does breaking that look? So like there needs to be a way out. And you can't just sell contracts either, like the idea of like selling a contract to another school. No, that's not happening. But maybe some agreement. There are ITCs within NACE, but those are only basically honored by NACE schools within NACE competition, just because that's what it is. But it spells out schools are encouraged to include like the benefits that they're giving, and it spells out some of that like very general stuff. Um, but it's nowhere near like what a player contract, quote unquote, would be. Guarantees scholarship. I also like one of my pet peeves in collegiate from what I've heard has happened or is happening is that scholarships are only a year by year guarantee, and I'm against that idea. Uh, if you're going to give a full ride to a student to come in and play, that should be given to them all 4 years, as long as they're coming to practice and performing the duties assigned to them. If they're just not as good the next year or not meeting your expectations, that should not be grounds for removing that scholarship. And I say that because the goal is to have students graduate. The ultimate goal is to have them come in, earn their degree, and leave. And when we start tying performance to the ability to pay for that goal, we're messing with players too much, in my opinion. Um, and I mean I have players ask like, hey, is this scholarship guaranteed? I'm like, yeah, I'm not in the business of taking away scholarships as long as you meet the expectations of what's assigned to you, like coming to practice, keeping a GPA where we've talked about it's required, etc. But there are a lot. I would be sad to hear, but I would not be surprised that there are multiple programs out there that do year by year scholarships. And I know one of the top ones in the country does that. And I just do not like that. I hate it. Kyber says, do they have an option to stay and just study? I would say so, but I'm not in a. The problem also is that if a kid wants to quit the team but stay there, then it shouldn't be the responsibility of the esports coach or the esports program to fund that study. Like again, as long as they're meeting the expectations of the competitive program as well as the school, they keep that scholarship, and that has to be irregardless of how they perform. It can't be. It should not be tied to performance, in my opinion. They get it initially because of performance, but after that, I just am not in the I'm not in the business of taking away scholarships. Uh, and they do it so their players don't leave mid-year. But like example, HU has buyouts, and they do it so their players don't leave mid-year. That's crazy. That's insane. No. Oh my. I mean, I've been very critical of HU and their performance in the past. Now I get to be critical of more than that. Reminds me, I need to ask coaches about what they look for while recruiting coaches or players. I am going to be doing year by year. In my opinion, those should be the standard. No, no, year by year scholarships should not be the standard. Now, if a player comes to your school because you're a big school, they come to your school not expecting a scholarship and then they earn one for the year. Totally different conversation than, hey, come play for me. Here's a full ride for this year. Totally, completely different conversation. Does athletics share that? Because I think our basketball team drops kids scholarships that they're bench warming. I don't know. But we don't have to follow everything athletics does. But again, like I know our athletic director, like if you're gonna be talking about that, you have to have good reason. And I know one of my players got going into his senior year on a different team in athletics has lost like half their scholarship. I just don't morally agree with that stance. I'm not saying it should be illegal. I just do not. I don't see how you could feasibly be okay with that if you're in it for the students. Bring the best of traditional sports to esports. Separate U.S. from Canada sports. Yeah, HU has a bio. That's what Chu's saying. That's crazy. Like starting in. No, all D1 and D2 schools do year by year athletic scholarships. It's very hard to speak with this over text. I just, again, if a player comes to your school and their expectation of what they're paying is the price minus academic scholarships minus the esports scholarships you're giving, they decide to come to your school to earn their degree, and then year two, that esports scholarship gets taken away, so now they're paying 5K, 6K more per year. They might still be on your team. They're just bench warming. I just do not I just do not agree with that. We're talking about a student loan crisis and students being so in debt and colleges being unaffordable. That adds to the issue. A player should know before they sign on to your team how much money do they have to pay per year, where's that money coming from, and to be able to complete their degree. You have to go lift. Enjoy your lift. I'm going to crash my car typing. I'm almost home. Hold up. Okay. uh, yeah, I hate that idea, the year-to-year stuff. I hate it. They also have the right to transfer if they lose their scholarship. I'm not leaving yet, though. Yeah, I mean, they have a right to transfer if they don't lose their scholarship. From an athletic standpoint, it might be different, but from an esports perspective, like they can transfer whenever they want. You brought up about Maryville earlier, right? About 10-man rosters, but if they replace a player, then I think they lose scholarship money. I I I don't want to speak to everything, but I believe that Maryville is a year by year scholarship model. Suave says players can lose or gain more scholarship in esports. It happens all the time. Yes, it does. But I'm against the losing scholarships as long as it's. I'm against losing scholarships based on performance. Yes, I know it happens. That's why I'm talking about it. If it didn't happen, we wouldn't be talking about it. I am just I am I just do not see how that should be okay. Again, the goal of esports in collegiate the goal of colleges is to get kids educated and leave and graduate. That's the goal of our institutions. And if we're not aligning with that goal and that mission, then we are doing a disservice to students and our own institutions. They dropped hybrids because of performance. Who is that? Hybers. I don't. A LoL player. It's fine to drop them, but like if you're dropping them based on performance, they should not lose scholarship money. I'm sorry. That's my stance. You can cancel me on that one too. I do not morally agree with the idea that a player pays more year two to go to your college because they didn't perform at the level that they should have. Went to Winthrop. Their old top. Noah says I didn't ask a lot of questions when I got a scholarship. To be honest, it worked out, but it's tough for 18 to 20-year-olds to recognize these things. Yeah, that is their choice, though. Whose choice? What are we talking about? It's their choice to transfer. It's their choice to take away scholarships, to go to that school after losing the scholarship. I agree with you. It is. Yeah, they could. They could transfer. I'm not talking about the player's perspective. I'm talking about the school's perspective. I do not see how you as a coach can look at a student who's who's coming to practice and trying to earn their degree and say, we're going to make you pay more to go here. That's not the goal of all of this. I don't know what to tell you. If we disagree on that, then we just disagree on the reason of having esports in a college setting. I kept students on full tuition that I dropped due to performance. You owe them. It's not the right in my mind to take it away. Yeah, that's exactly what. Yeah, I agree. Exactly. Not speaking from an esports side, but take college football. It's a competitive program. They will give you your scholarship to someone else who fits the team better or plays better. Yeah, esports isn't at that level, obviously, but same sort of thing. Keep the college and collegiate esports. That's my stance. Now I'm not at a program that says like, okay, you have 5 full rides to give and that's all you get. So if a kid doesn't perform at the level you need them to be, you need to find a replacement for that player, or you want to be more competitive than you already are. Like I'm not in that stance, and that's the crux of the argument. I'm sure these schools only have 5 full rides, and if a kid isn't good enough, they need to use that full ride somewhere else. But maybe the that's the heart of the argument from a resources perspective is you should be recruiting better players or players that you expect to have the entire time, or that's just the understanding as you work with your admins. It's like these players need to be able to get their degree. I don't know what to tell you. Like that's the goal. And I just do not agree with the idea of 1 year benefits from that perspective. Again, these players should be coming to your school to get a degree. A degree does not end in 1 year. It ends in 4. So have the full conversation and it all laid out. Like this is what you're paying per year until you get your degree. That's the goal. If that's the case, that conversation needs to happen first during recruitment and know that it's happening. Yeah, and if it is happening, like Hell on Pause says, then that player needs to know full well that this is a 1 year thing. And you need to be able to tell them, like, when would they know if they get it year 2? Is it like, by April 1st, you will know. You did not crash. That's good, Chu. I'm glad you made it. That player needs to know, like, okay, on April 1st next spring, I will know if I have my full ride or not. I tell all my students their scholarship remains as long as they don't fail out or get kicked from school or program for disciplinary issues. That's how it should be. In my opinion, that's how it should be. If you, as a coach, want to move on to another player, that's your prerogative. But it shouldn't come at the expense of the first student's education. The student that you recruited to your school to get a degree. That one, like, yeah. Again, you can cancel me all you want on that one. And there's coaches that are going to be totally against that idea. Like, oh no, what? No. They may say something like that's not competitive enough, or I don't know, whatever. That's what my coach told me when I signed on to play for them. I yeah, that's what I've told like all my players. It's like, hey, if they ask, I don't even know if I tell them every player, but like if they ask or infer, it's like this is your scholarship, and they ask like how do I lose this or whatever. I think it even says it said in our Aquinas like LOIs that we signed. It's like these are the ways that you can lose your scholarship. But like it's guaranteed as long as you show up to practice, no disciplinary issues, you keep your GPA, you keep this 4 year, you keep this. I think it's 5 years is what we laid out. Yeah. I also just want to point out as a D1 advisor, I've only witnessed one athlete ever lose their scholarship, and it was disciplinary reasons. Yeah, but like some of these programs from esports perspective change that so frequently. It's not just a one athlete over many years that has lost an esports scholarship. I think it's a lot more frequent than that. Your NLI was a Jimmy John's sub. I'm gonna at some point there's gonna be rules against giving like buying meals for recruits, and you're gonna bring up the Jimmy John sandwich, and I'm gonna get canceled. I'm gonna be 45. They're gonna be like Adam Antor when he was a coach in his first 2 years took this kid out to Jimmy John's, which is a violation of now a rule we have. Yeah, I don't know. Italian nightclub, that's what I eat, but not the extra oregano. A model some schools do are housing and tuition for varsity, only tuition for JV, so it swaps. It's not bribery anymore. It's called NIL. uh, my NCAA standards, as long as you declared it, are fine. It's a recruitment meal. Oh, thank you. Good. I used to have a contract that had a non-compete. That's crazy. Is that something that the school signed off or you just created? Because I would be so surprised if a school actually, like, the legal department okayed something like that. And maybe it's necessary because, like, you want your player to focus on SLU esports and not go play on an amateur team and then just, like, show up to matches. But, like, that should be in, like, the student code of conduct where that I have where it lists must come to practice, must come to matches, etc. Antor's downfall will be a Jimmy John's ultimate porker. When it comes to like a twit longer, if anyone made a twit longer about me, it would be trying to cancel me based on Jimmy John's. Like I have nothing else to hide. There's nothing there. It was a non-compete for poaching from other schools because it was so prevalent that year, and the school wanted it and supported it when I brought it up. That's interesting. I don't know what that would look like. It would be interesting to like see what that actually said. Like players agreed not to talk to other schools, or like what you hold their transcripts. Oh, that's interesting. If they try to transfer, whoa, that's I don't know about that one. I don't know where I'd land on that one. That feels weird to me. That feels weird. You said it. It's fucked. I know. Yeah, I can see it. It's that I'm not about that life. But I get it. Like SLU is putting in a ton of resources to these students. Um, yeah, starts typing my first twit longer. I mean, in traditional sports, you have to wait a semester before you can play for another team, which I think is mostly fine. Yeah, I think there's something like that. The NACE ITC is tries to prevent transferring. I think it might be an entire year if you don't. But the NACE ITC is like a yearly thing you sign. So like if you don't like where you're at, you just don't sign for the second year, and you can go wherever you want. And there's no accountability. It's very odd. Um, it's very odd. It basically allows students and coaches to almost guarantee their next year of competition. Um, yeah. Uh, that feels crossing line. I got rid of the year. Oh, they removed that. I'm all for like chopping scholarships, but I'm glad that was removed. You're all for chopping scholarships. I'm not. I'm just not in the business of making college more expensive for students. I'm in the business of making it more affordable. That's what esports scholarships are for. Um, they're started with grad transfers, but now can. It's only for D1 to D1 or was. There's nothing like that in esports, so the school thought we had to take matters for the year. It expired after the school year. I I see the thought process, and I'm not looking. I wouldn't be like out to cancel anyone over it, especially if there was a lot of poaching problems. Um, but there are probably other ways to address that than having to sign like a contract with a non-compete in it. Um, but I can see the thought process, and there's I mean there you guys were giving pretty substantial scholarships too. So like there's a significant investment, and the school wants to protect that investment. I get it. Transfer portal is beyond effed. So they aren't competing with your direct competitors, whereas in esports everyone is your competitor. It guaranteed the kids the scholarship for the year, but they couldn't play for another CLO team for the school year. But we had kids still transfer like Andy. Yeah, I'm being transparent because it's a big conversation. I've had a lot of directors. Yeah. From my understanding, WAC players sit out a year when it comes to interconference transferring. Yes, and I think that extended to esports. So like within the WAC conference, if you transferred to another WAC school, you couldn't compete in WAC esports for a year. Yes, that is the case. But it's only like WAC competition. So like you could go transfer to a WAC school and then go play in CLOL. Maybe the conference would try to fine your school or get you in trouble, but like no one's stopping that. Out of curiosity, couldn't this kid still compete? Like if he transfers play at the school, then brings in the transcript. Um, yeah, the thought process is that the school wouldn't accept you until they got a transcript. But if you went to like a small school that bent the line, kind of was fine with an unofficial transcript and made it was okay with it for a year, you could still compete somewhere. I think, unless if it's okayed by their old director coach. Yeah, transfer to the SIP. Transfer to the SIP. No, no. I didn't enforce it with Andy because he wasn't going to play league and it wasn't going to a relevant league school. I know a lot of schools would be fine with an unofficial but won't grant credits. Yeah, but I would have. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. I'm glad it's removed. I think I truly believe that there are other ways to combat that than than having them sign an official contract with a non-compete in it. Because again, like my hope, but again, like the goals of my administration with it comes to esports and my personal goals when it comes to esports are going to be different than other programs, and that goes for all ends of the spectrum. Like you look at the hyper competitive teams, like a lot of them they want to win national championships, and that's like their goal. My goals are going to be different, um, uh, but our resources are also different too. I mean, we don't have non-compete and we give sizable scholarships, but I have 100% had kids try to be stolen from us mid-year. I mean, I've heard plenty of directors complain about coaches trying to poach their players. Um, I have personally never had a coach successfully poach my well maliciously successfully poach my players. I've had players transfer not mid-year, but they followed a coach that I had. Um, and I think it ended up being a better place for those students, which is the goal. Which was what my was more of a goal than keeping those students, personally. Over under 5 years, do we see a coach director banned for poaching players? No, but there might be, if it hasn't already, there could be like a social banning, if you will, or like even and when I talk about like a social ban, like distancing, maybe not inviting that coach to tournaments, um, almost like pushing them as far away as possible. But official bans, I mean, who's that coming from? I had a conversation today with a doctoral student who's doing some research on collegiate esports, and I'm like, and she's talking about regulation. I'm like, who's regulating? You've got two options. You either have someone who gets full approval from the developers, or you get the developers themselves regulating. Those are the only two options. Anyone else, you look at NACE, you look at Voice, a school, if they don't believe in it, in the regulation or don't want to follow it, they just leave. Like, so no one's going to be banning a coach unless if it comes from the developers who don't care about poaching, I don't think. Or like an independent group that gets full approval from developers, which I don't see happening. So, yeah. So you would hold the hold on the account if they did that. I poached from GVU technically, but Aaron approached me, so I don't know. I talked to a Ray at UST. It happens. I'm poaching from Fisher. MU technically poached from Converse. Yeah, NACE or ECAC. Um, I just tell players, hey, these are coaches I know will try to poach you. I've had different instances. It depends on the situation and how the conversation happens. I've never approached a student that was in a varsity program first. I've had students at other programs approach me, and depending on the student, depending on the situation they're going through, and depending on the coach and my relationship with that person, sometimes I'll just be like, hey, I can't talk much about it yet, but have you told your other coach that you're interested in looking other places? Most of the time, they say they're okay with it. I got a player this year from Shenandoah. Joey, their director, literally sent the kid to me, like to have a conversation. Um, but there are instances where a coach or director was not transparent during the recruitment process and has failed in multiple steps of the way, where I'm okay with talking to the kid about a potential transfer without notifying the coach because they might fear repercussion. But there are significantly more issues than they just want to come to play on our team. Um, and that I more in my gut feel okay with doing. I don't know if I've ever had a student transfer in that part of it, but in those cases, I don't have if I don't have a relationship with those directors or coaches, or it's a strained relationship, if any at all. Um, but it helps having good relationships with other coaches and directors. Um, Twitch released something on gambling just now. Oh no, that's a lot of that. That should be interesting. They care about poaching in AM, so they would have to make collegiate the path to pro and put similar rules. That's true. That would be the developers admitting that collegiate is a path to pro, and I don't know if they're comfortable doing that yet for some reason. Uh, if the student approached you, I think it is very different. Yeah, I have never approached a player in another program. I have approached a player that was in a club at a big school that didn't have a program yet. I have done that um, once, but every other situation has been them reaching out to me first, and that's a completely different conversation. That in my opinion is not poaching. The true that's not malicious poaching. Malicious poaching is you go to a LAN event and you explicitly just go up to talented players and be like, "Hey, you want to transfer?" And I've heard of that happening a lot more than it should. Another one is like just DMing good players and be like, "Hey, you're at a pretty trash program or bad school, or we have a better program for you." That is malicious, and that I'm not okay with. Um, but like if one of my kids gets poached or transfers to Maryville on a full ride, I'm not gonna be angry. I'd be happy for them as long as they're getting, as long as they're going to a better situation for them academically as well as competitively, and they're being taken care of. Like I'm not gonna be angry. I mean, I'll be upset for like a day because I'm like, wow, I was betting on that kid. But long term, I think I'm not angry with that either. I had players reach out to me from a school and then the coach say I was poaching him, even though when I was approached and specifically told them to tell their coach first. Yeah, that's a weird situation. If you tell the player to tell their coach first, like you did quite a bit, in my opinion. What up, physics? I always reach out to the coach myself just to be sure. A lot of players are scared to tell their coach out of fear. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's an awkward situation. Um, and it's probably the mature way of doing things. But, I mean, I'll admit that, like, I haven't done that every time. Um, because, like, I want to. Usually, when I'm talking to a student who approaches me about transferring, I want to know more information about what they're looking for and why they're transferring before I even start a conversation with their coach because it could be a waste of time. Like, it could be that, like, we're not even a program you'd be interested in. Like, they were expecting a full ride. I don't give full rides. Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Like, okay. I like to have a little bit more information on some of the players that reach out to me. And it's not that frequent that I have players reach out to me. So it's pretty rare occurrence, especially moving down to Florida. When I was up in Michigan and there were so many more collegiate programs around me, it was more frequent. I mean, literally have coaches DMing my main tank last year, "Hey, come play for us." Wow. I have not done that. I don't think. As much as I would want to, I have not done that. No, for sure, if one of my players gets a full ride to another school, I did my job by giving them the spotlight they deserved. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'll beat up Dan if he did that. I mean, dude, we were at Gateway Legends. It was so funny because I mean, I don't know if I've given shit directly to Dan about this, but as soon as we beat Illinois, like before I could even get to the stage to congratulate my players, Dan's up there talking to Stevenator. I'm like, oh, nice, thanks, Dan. Here we go. Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be upset about that, but at some point, if Stevenator ended up at Maryville, I'd give him shit for it. But that'd be awesome. As long as it's an actual good school, yeah, true. We have a player that left to go to HU this year. Their offer there was nuts. We had to go back to the drawing board, but ultimately we were happy for him. Yeah, I would be too. Yeah, if a kid gets a full ride and they're paying 20K a year to go here or somewhere else, like as long as it's a school that they're gonna get a good degree at, it's not even my place to say if another school's better or good. It's like, yeah, okay, you're getting a degree and you don't have to pay, like, and you think it's the best decision for you, then who am I to say no or judge? Um, the only time I would probably get mad at a player is if I caught them trying out at one of those combines without telling me. I have had players do that where I'll like show up to a combine and I'm like, wait, why is my player on that? It feels a little bit of betrayal, but usually talking to them, they're like, "Oh, I just thought this was open to all college students." But yeah, I can see that. It's just an opportunity for conversation. Like if a player's looking to transfer, like I would want to know that. Like don't hide that from me. Like I'm not gonna prevent you from transferring either. Like I can't. Like there's not many modes of preventing that from happening besides correcting the situation. If it's a situation that needs to be corrected, so I might as well like help you get to where you want to go. By good school, I literally just mean a place where their credits will transfer. Yeah, won't go into more debt. Yeah, that'd be rough. You just have to trust your players will communicate that they're getting offers. Yeah, and yeah, the best thing you can do is like create that culture of trust there, where you don't blow up if you've heard that they've talked to other schools or whatnot. Um, I've seen so many students in the past 2 years go places where their credits don't transfer and they add on time. Yeah, that's just so crazy to me. It's like a student will look at transferring and like none of their credits transfer and they instantly add 2 more years of college. I'm like, is that really worth it? Like, is it? I know Winthrop reaches out to Doxa all the time to ask him to transfer back. That's so weird to me. Okay. Not me playing in all the collegiate combines and having to tell every coach I'm just here for fun. Yeah, that's all. That's just annoying. I hate when I go to a combine, I reach out to a player and they're like, "Oh, I play at X university. I'm not interested in transferring." I'm like, why are you even in this combine? Go away. Like, stay home. Go play solo queue. That's the whole point of combine is to look for talent. I don't. Yeah. Not me playing. Yeah, I mean, I give as much info as possible to the student about programs they have interest in. Yeah, I've done it with recruits. I've done it with current students. Like, if they're interested in looking at another school, I'll put them in a group DM with another coach and then leave. Like, here you go. Here's blank from X university. Boom. Did you miss the St. Clair stuff? Yes, you did. Sean, dinner time. Good show today. Hey, enjoy your dinner. Thanks for stopping by. We'll have to connect. And then they don't like it there and want to transfer again. Yeah, that's rough. Players that are hard stuck juniors in college. There needs to be a limit. CLOL needs to put a limit. And this should go for every developer league. They should put a limit of how many years you can compete in a league. Cause it's crazy. There's some CLOL players that have been playing since I was a student. And they played at like 5 different schools. And you're like, what? Bro, get the piece of paper and get out. Fall CLOL announced. Wait. What? Here's the update from Twitter on gambling. Gambling content has been a big topic. Today we want to update you on our plans while we prohibit sharing links on those. We've seen some people circumvent that, so we'll be making a policy update on October 18th to prohibit streaming of gambling sites. That includes slots. Wow. Holy cow. Or dice games that aren't licensed either in the U.S. or other jurisdictions that provide consumer protection. We may identify others as we move forward. We will continue to allow websites that focus on sports betting, fantasy sports, and poker. Wow. Huge. Huge. Yeah, so update. You said CLOL fall, and I was just about to leave for the office. Fall CLOL. Let's look at that. I half don't believe you. Fall, dude, we just tweeted about this, and I tagged RSAA today about this. They're like, oh crap, Antor tweeted at us. Uh-oh, we're in trouble now. We got to throw something together. Bro, what is this? It's Canada. Canada's infiltrating. This is it. It's hidden messaging. Canada. That's a maple leaf. Why would they use a maple leaf? I get it. Fall, leaves. What about the rest of the country that doesn't have fall? All right. It's 91 degrees here. The trees are green. This is terrible. Landon, hello. Hello. TLDR for the CLO stuff. Unlimited teams per school. 3 divisions instead of 2. Streamlined schedule. Lots of RP prizes and giveaways. All right. I have 5 club teams entering CLO this year. I'm so pumped. Holy. Tiza saw it. Yeah, Tiza saw it. They probably were planning on announcing it later in the week, and they're like, oh, crap. But also, like, every big league, when they do announcements, it's always Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Every time. And it's right. They think I'm done with my show. No, not today. Today, we're going late. And we caught him. Huge. CLO fall warm-ups. Unlimited teams per school. 3 divisions instead of 2. Streamlined schedule. RP prizes and giveaways. Register. More info. Fall LOL. Registration now open. Group stage into 16-team single elimination playoffs. No limit on number of participating schools. Top. Hey! They're like, all right, we figured out the problem in CVAL. We're changing it up. We're not limiting it. Top 80 schools placed in fixed divisions. All other schools placed in open division. Prizes for playoff teams in all divisions. Raffle prizes for all participating teams. And a masterwork chest for not forfeiting. They broke the code. This is how we fix forfeiting. We give free in-game content. Yes. This is right here. This is the biggest news out of this announcement right here. right here. They know. They figured it out. They have broken the code. There will be no forfeiting. All right. This is how much is a masterwork chest? Like $10? Chew, thank you so much for the prime sub. I'm taking classes again for that masterwork chest. Dude, you just put yourself on there, all right? I bet they... all right, so like 2 years ago, coaches got League Unlocked. I don't think last year we did. Thank you so much for the sub. Yes. Woo. We did not. We didn't get League Unlocked last year. Bring that back. That's the next thing I'm bringing up on Twitter. I need all your support. We're taking down Tiza. All right, we're forcing it. League Unlocked for coaches. Bring it back. That was with Play Versus. Yeah, last year was Play Versus, wasn't it? Yeah. No, we in CeeLo coaches didn't get League Unlocked. Coaches in CeeLo did not. How about we get League Unlocked back in arenas first? That would be nice too. That would be nice. But I'm not asking for that much. Why would they require students not to be online? Online code or online student discussion that I not accidentally missed, but purposefully not talking about at this point. It's too much. That's a circle I don't want to go on right now. I mean, you can technically put any summoner name on your roster. Yeah, but you have to like agree that you're a student and stuff. Like, there's a full agreement you sign as a player. I'm almost certain. I don't think you sign up as like a player and then convert yourself to a coach. I think you purposefully say staff or coach. Can we just lock Vayne on all of Little B-Man's accounts? We could. All right. That's it for today. I got to go. We got a match in 20 minutes that I got to go finish prepping for the broadcast. But I appreciate everyone for stopping by. We're about to play Aquinas Rocket League. Should be a fun one. Let's see who we should raid, if there's anyone on there. There's a lot of streamer drama happening, so we are going to try to avoid that. I wonder if I can go to... Nace has a team, I think. Yes, team members. Shenandoah's online. Let's send you guys to Shenandoah. Shenandoah's got a broadcast going on. Let me grab this. Oh, all right. We'll raid these people. They're doing some esports tower stuff, so you can go recruit some high school kids. Woo woo! All right, I'm about to go whoop Aquinas' butt in Rocket League. I appreciate you all stopping by. You guys are awesome. What's the Florida Southern Twitch link? It is Florida Southern College. All one word. No spaces. Should be a fun one. Appreciate it, everyone. Wonder what the drama will be next week. Who's to say? But we'll talk about it next week. I think my show next week is going to be on Monday, and I think I'm going to have Warhood on. Warhood's in the chat from Ole Miss. We're going to be talking about some D1 sports. We're going to be talking about the difference between private and public schools, I believe, and some of his experiences. Should be fun. And then we'll obviously talk about whatever drama comes up. So we'll go ahead and get this raid going. But I appreciate everyone. So many subs today. That was huge. Huge. I'll get you guys' sub rolls over in the Discord later tonight. I appreciate everyone. Have a good rest of the week. Good luck in your matches. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
See if the Hurricanes are coming back better and stronger now as we get ready for the first map, series number 2 of the group stage. It's going to be the Hurricanes.